Joining me now from the other side of the aisle, it's Republican Congressman from Kentucky, Andy Barr. Congressman Barr, welcome to Meet the Press.
Chuck, good to be with you.
And you're no stranger to extraordinarily close elections, to elections midterms that have been as unusual as this one. You've seen our poll. I want to start with the top issue. The fact that threats to democracy have overtaken cost of living. Look, 6 months ago, it seemed like you guys were going to ride the cost of living issue to the majority. Cost of living is certainly an important issue, but it's not the only one anymore. Are you concerned that with lower gas prices that all of a sudden you guys don't have the right message to win this?
Well, Chuck, at the beginning of the program, you made the important point that the American people are angry and anxious, and there's a reason why the American people are angry and anxious, and it's because they are worse off under the policies of congressional Democrats and Joe Biden. Yes, they are concerned about our country and the future of our country because we're in a recession, because we've had 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth, despite what the White House wants to do in redefining that term. Real wages are down. Credit card debt is up because people cannot afford this increased cost of living. We are experiencing the highest inflation, Chuck, in 40 years. The average American household is suffering under $5,000 reduced purchasing power. They're paying more for virtually everything. Gas prices have doubled. There's an energy crisis in this country because this president has waged a war on energy in this country. We are no longer energy independent. In fact, we've gone from energy dominant to energy desperate in just a year and a half's time. And we are experiencing a crime wave, 15% increase in homicides because of the defund police movement, and we have no operational control over the southern border. In my home state of Kentucky, we are experiencing the worst fentanyl overdose crisis in our country. No, Kentucky is not on the southern border, but we are a border state because our citizens are dying because this administration and this leadership in the Democrat-controlled Congress refuses to follow the law and secure our border, and people are dying because of it. That's why the American people are anxious and angry in this country and why they want to change.
Let me ask you this. What is your plan to deal with inflation? What is the Republican plan to deal with inflation other than not supporting Joe Biden policies? And I say that because what is the proactive agenda here?
Well, we have a positive agenda. We have a commitment to America, and we're going to get back to basics. Republicans are going to win landslide elections, not just because Joe Biden has done such a poor job and congressional Democrats have failed the American people on the economy, crime, and the border, but because we have a positive agenda to secure the border, to get back to basics, to stop the flow of drugs into our communities, to prevent people on the terror watch list from coming across the southern border, and to restore the Remain in Mexico policy that this administration just reversed, to finish border wall infrastructure, technology, and resource border patrol. You know, the Democrats just passed a bill that would increase the workforce at the IRS by 87,000 people to come after law-abiding American small business owners and harass them. We don't need more IRS agents. We need more Border Patrol agents. And we have a common-sense plan to reduce the cost of living, to lower the cost of the pump. We want to restore American energy independence. We're going to end these policies that prevent us from being energy independent. We're going to stop the politicization of the financing of energy, and we are going to produce more energy to reduce our dependence on foreign sources of energy and also speculative, unreliable sources of energy that this administration is so obsessed about.
Let me ask you about the IRS talking point, because I just don't get it. Because a lot of Republicans have talked about dealing with waste, fraud, and abuse. The current head of the IRS, who was a Trump appointee, said he didn't have enough people to essentially, that the biggest problem we have is people don't pay the taxes that they're supposed to pay. If you're upset about extra IRS agents, stop cheating on your taxes, Congressman. And I'm not saying you personally, but I mean, I'm talking about in general.
Right, Chuck. Well, no, look, everybody believes that people should pay their taxes, but the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office looking at this legislation, this reconciliation bill, this Inflation Expansion Act, says that $20 billion of these audits are going to come at the expense of low and middle income Americans. When Joe Biden and his campaign promised the American people that, oh, taxes were not going to go up for people earning less than $400,000, that was a lie. This bill is going to come at the expense of the American people. Raising taxes on energy producers, job creators, and people trying to save for retirement in the middle of a recession, I don't know for the life of me why they think that's a winning strategy in a situation where Americans can't afford gas, they can't afford groceries. Heck, moms can't even get baby formula right now. So the economy is not serving the Democrats well, and only in Joe Biden's America, is the solution to an inflation-induced, spending-induced inflation crisis more spending. The way to fix inflation is to lower taxes, to repair our supply chains, and to produce more energy to lower prices. That's the solution, and that's the Republican solution.
I want to get you to respond to what happened to Liz Cheney earlier this week. Here's what she said in her concession speech.
We have candidates for Congress, including here in Wyoming, who refuse to acknowledge that Joe Biden won the 2020 election and suggest that states decertify their results. Our nation is barreling once again towards crisis, lawlessness, and violence. No American should support election deniers for any position of genuine responsibility, where their refusal to follow the rule of law will corrupt our future.
Congressman, you voted to certify this election. You're not one of these folks that goes out there talking about this nonsense. But there are a lot of House Republicans that are being supported by the NRCC and the campaign committee that do. Respond to Congresswoman Cheney there. Do you agree with her warnings and concerns?
Well, I think it goes to show that, and the election outcomes in a lot of these primaries, it goes to show these congressional seats do not belong to politicians in Washington. These seats belong to the American people, and there is a massive, massive disconnect between the priorities of politicians in Washington and the concerns of the American people. I've been back in my district in Irvine, Kentucky, Mount Sterling, Kentucky, in Harrodsburg, Kentucky, Richmond, Kentucky, over the last several weeks, and not once have any of my constituents, Republican or Democrat, talked about the 2020 election, January 6th, the committee in Washington, or any of these issues. They're talking about not being able to afford putting food on the table, putting gas in their trucks, and not being able to see their grandson again because he died of a fentanyl overdose, because we don't have control over our southern border. That's what the American people care about, and politicians who obsess about the past are not in touch with the American people. That's why the Democrats
it sounds like
are going to lose
don't believe
this election
Republicans.
big time.
So you're saying Republicans who are campaigning on Donald Trump's election denialism are making a mistake?
What I'm saying is that Republicans are going to win this election because we're laser focused on what the American people actually care about, and that is the rising price of gas, the rising price of groceries, the fact that we can't find baby formula on the shelves, the crime crisis in this country. You know, the Democrats are advocating a dangerous policy of not only defunding the police, but eliminating cash bail, eliminating qualified immunity for law enforcement, and homicides are up 15% in this country. Americans want security and safety. Democrats are not delivering that. We have a positive agenda to put the country back on the right track.
Giving you a lot of airtime here. Congressman Andy Barr, Republican from Kentucky, really appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective about this campaign with us as well. So thank you,
Chuck.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.